Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, and welcome to My Turn to Talk. I am Solid Blue Sister, and today is Tuesday, April the 28th, 2026. I say it all the time. This year is going by so fast. Anyway, everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today I would like to talk about relationships and how important is society in a relationship? Is it a little important? Do people, even care? What do people think about society? Do they allow society to come into their relationships? Do they allow society to seep into their relationships? That is what I would like to know. Hey, Anthony. Hello, Blunt Ninja. How are you? So, all right, let's get started. Society is a funny thing when it comes to your personal space, your personal things. Society is important. This is what I mean. And when I say society, I'm including your immediate family, I'm including your friends, I'm including your coworkers. Okay, so that they are part of society. Let's say you date someone who used to be in prison. Society is going to have something to say about it. Your parents, your friends, your relatives, your mom, your dad, your sisters, your brothers, your coworkers are going to look at you sideways. They are going to have something to say about it. Why are you dating that person? Why are you dating that person? If you are part of the LGBTQ, they are going to say, hey, what is going on? Why are you dating that person? Are you a Christian? Do you believe in God? Oh my God. What are you doing? People are going to say that. If you are in a domestic relationship, people are going to ask, why are you dating that person? I'm sorry, a domestic violence relationship. Why are you still with that person? And for something like that, people, in my opinion, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be nosy Nelly and say they have probably a reason to say that. Good morning, Jess Talk. People. And join us, please, on the Solid Blue Sister, My Turn to Talk on YouTube. And I am also on Podbean right now. Even though Podbean won't be along that long or around that long, I am on Podbean. But anyway, how important is society? Do they ruin a relationship? They establish norms, they establish values. The government is part of society, and we know that the government will get into your relationship on the books in some states still, unless, and I'm talking sex right now, unless you're doing anything but missionary when you are having sexual relations with your partner or your husband, it is considered against the law. For a long time. And they're trying to actually bring this law back where interracial relationships were illegal. Now, the only relationship that I feel that you should not participate in, well, actually, there's two relationships I feel you should not participate in. It should be illegal if you are in a relationship with a minor under the age of 18. You should not be able to have relationships with the minor at all or marry them. But isn't it interesting how in some states you can marry a minor, you can marry a 12-year-old, but if you have sex with a 12-year-old, you're considered a pedophile? Tell me how does that work? How does that work? Something like that just doesn't make sense to me. But explain that to me. Aren't you still a pedophile if you are, if you marry someone that is under the age of 18, 10, 11, 12? Isn't that still considered a pedophile, whether you're married to them or not? I'm sorry. I think so. The other relationship that I think that people should be against the law, and you all, I'm gonna get a little gross here, are people who have relationships with animals. I'm sorry, you guys. You have a problem. My personal feeling. And you have people who, they enter relationships to conform. Girls are supposed to grow up, to get married, have children, mind the house, take care of the house, cook and clean, and the man is supposed to be the provider. He's the husband. He goes out and he, makes the money and, comes home and provides for his family. But for me personally, I see that as trapping women, where women in some cases have no place to go. Even if their marriages, if they have a great marriage, if you have to rely on your spouse, and a lot of times it's the female relying on their husband for money, that's a trap. I believe, and again, this is how I was raised, but this is what I also believe, that women and men should have their own money. I believe children should have their own money. Yes, I am one of those people who believe in an allowance. I believe that if a child wants to, when they're 16, if they want to work, they should be able to work. They should not be forced to work at the age of 16, because your job as a parent is to provide the minimum, the basic minimum, until they are 18 years old. But I do believe that a child should be able to have their own money to go and spend and do what they wish with it. This is just me. All right. Having said that, let's talk about social media. How much has social media infiltrated, so to speak, relationships? How much has social media come in to, you know, tell people what they should and should not do? Once again, you have another um, uh, interloper within your relationship. What do you do? Do you conform to social norms? Do you do what society wants you to do? Or do you do whatever you want to do that makes you happy? What do you do? Society is um, a constantly changing, constantly changing animal. What was okay yesterday may not be okay today. And society is also very hypocritical. It is very hypocritical. You know, society can really, really um, break you. They can be for you one moment and against you the next. I'm gonna get a little political here. Look at Bill and Hillary Clinton. Look at them. I mean, Bill Clinton had this affair with Monica Lewinsky while he was in office of the president. And even though there was outrage of what he did, the biggest outrage came from the fact that Hillary Clinton did not divorce and leave her husband. Society put their 2 cents in to someone else's marriage. And 30 years later, people still have an opinion about Hillary Clinton. When she ran for president in 2016, a lot of women still held her to task for not leaving her husband. Let me ask this. If Hillary Clinton was just Hillary Clinton, some Jane Doe, would people have cared that much? Or is it because she was in the public eye? But isn't that still something between a husband and wife and not anyone else's personal business? I mean, isn't it? Is it is it really is it really anyone's business? You know, it 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 truly just Makes no sense. But here we are. Here we are. You know, society is also very good on any inequalities. You know, social. I'm talking about the social media. Society likes to point out what's wrong in your relationship. You make more than him. He makes more than you. She's a gold digger. He's only using, you for your money. Those things could be true. Those things very well could be true, but they could not. And yes, I do believe that, people step in because they think that they're um, doing what's best, or they have your best interests at heart. Uh, however, however, best intentions aren't always the best. Sometimes your best intentions will destroy a relationship instead of either supporting it or lifting it up. And are some people, there are some people who I just, I look at them and I'm like, okay, that relationship's not going to work or whatever, but it's none of my business. At the end of the day, it's none of my business unless I see a friend of mine being harmed, and I'm talking about domestic violence, or if they're harming someone, domestic violence, I'm going to take a step back. Because, like most things, you don't know what's going on in somebody's house, and you don't know the dynamic of a relationship. I know people, friends with people who have married people 20 years younger, 20 years older. But when they got married, when they married this 20-year-old or 20 years younger, the younger person was in their 20s. I know someone that's in their 70s just married a 50-year-old. But I guess it doesn't matter when you get up into that age, whatever. But the fact still stands is that as we as a we as a society, we allow society to interfere in our relationships. That's a fact. That is what we do. We as a society, we allow other people to interfere in our relationships. Why do we do that? I've had people try to interfere in mine when I tell people that they need to back off. All of a sudden, I'm the problem. I'm the one with the attitude. But whether or not you agree with someone's lifestyle or their religion, their politics, whatever, um, unless that person is truly being hurt, we should back off because the world is changing. And like I said, the world is full of hypocrisy. The world is full of hypocrites. The world is full of people who will say one thing and they do something else. Like I said, they can be for you today, but tomorrow they're against you. They can agree with you marrying this person or being with that person, but someone comes along and puts something in their ear, and all of a sudden they're against you. It happens all the time. It happens every single day. And then there are some people who just don't want you to be happy. There are some people who are just so miserable with their own lives, they don't want you to be happy. They just don't want you to um uh um who just don't want you to just enjoy being happy with someone. um they want you to be miserable with them. If they see that you're dating someone or you're in a relationship with someone that's working, they will start to say things that will just um, make you, um, uh, feel bad or put little seeds of doubt. You sure you want to be with him? I heard this. I think he's this. Well, she's this or she's that. And unfortunately, sometimes for people like that, it works. They don't know how to shut out the noise. They don't know how to tell you to be just turn around and tell that person, just be quiet. They don't know how to do that. You have some people out there who are so lonely that if you get into a relationship with someone, they get offended. Oh, you're dumping them for me. And you have other friends around them saying, well, you did know them first. You were friends with them first before you started hooking up with her, before you started going out with him. They were your friend first. But they were also the friend that just brings you down. Welcome, Sinful Wishes. Join us on YouTube if you'd like. Um, they are those people who will just bring you down because they can't stand you being happy with someone else because they feel like you're leaving them behind. But if they were supportive of you in that relationship, they would know that you were going to continue to bring them forward. It's that now there's a compromise. They have a potential partner. They have someone who is important in their life. I mean, that's what weddings are for, right? Weddings are for people to celebrate that these two people got together and they're supposed to have a happy life. The same thing with a funeral. Isn't that what a funeral is for? That you come back and you celebrate the life of the friend or family member that you have lost. But like I said, society is a very hypocritical animal. We don't always, uh, want the best for people. Strangers will make comments on, you know, should you wear that dress? Should he have on that suit? I mean, come on. President Obama put on a beige suit for, a high level meeting, but all of his meetings are high level if you're the president, right? And some people on social media and some what do I want to say? Some media outlets just went crazy. How dare he put on a beige suit? Again, society coming in telling you what to do. Society are a bunch of hypocrites. We are. And each one of us, if we're being honest, have played a part in hypocrisy. At least one time. At least once, if we're being honest. Because society is that animal that can't help but to get into your business. Again, I'll turn to LGBTQ. A lot of people have comments about how people in that group should live their lives. Me, I don't agree with that lifestyle. But I don't care who you date. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who you sleep with. It's not my business. Now, here's where the hypocrisy with me will come in. Back in 95, 96 in California, I voted against when same-sex marriage law first came out. I was one of those people who voted against it because I personally believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. It got overturned. 20 years later, would I vote the same way? No, because I've learned things along the way. And one thing that I've learned is it's not my business. It's not my business. There are a lot of things that I don't agree with in relationships. But if it's not hurting anyone, should I care? If it's not physically or mentally hurting someone, should I care? And for me, the honest answer is no, I should not care. They and again, I'm gonna say this again. They say that they want to bring interracial relationships, the laws against it, back onto the books. Who is it hurting? Do you think that by saying the interracial relationships are illegal, that you're still going to stop people from having interracial, to have babies that are mixed? Is it really hurting you? We say the interracial relationships are bad, yet, excuse me, you had slave masters raping slave women, having babies. Hell, look at Thomas Jefferson. So it's okay to have a mixed baby, but you can't marry someone. Tell me how that works. It makes no sense to me. Do you really care? Is it your business? It shouldn't be. Society should not be in our business. Society should not care about who we date, who we sleep with, who we want to marry, who we want to live with. Society shouldn't care about where we work. You have some people who are upset, and judge people because you have women that work in a live entertainment bar. They make their living on a quote unquote stripper's pole. If that's the way they have to pay their tuition, feed their family, pay their kids' tuition, pay the rent, I'm not going to judge. Are they hurting anybody? Not my business. You have to be a greeter at Walmart as opposed to, going in and working in a call center. Not my business. And for some people, yes, I'm going to go down this road. If you have to sell your body to pay the rent, not my business. Now, people can say, oh, well, you could become that greeter at Walmart. You couldn't get a job at Walmart. You couldn't get a job at Target. Maybe Walmart and Target are not paying the amount of money that they make when they're on their back. But let's not forget, it takes two to tango. Welcome, people on Podbeam. You like to join us on YouTube? Feel free. I'm here at Solid Blue Sister. My turn to talk on YouTube. If that is what you choose, who are we to say otherwise? Because you don't know what someone's situation is. And in today's world, in today's economy, with rent the way it is across the board, no matter what state you live in, it's expensive. Like the one guy said, the rent is too damn high. What do you do? Maybe that woman who is, working in that striptease joint, whatever, is making more money and being able to, like I said, pay her tuition or support her children, as opposed to working 3 jobs at minimum wage, still barely able to get by, barely able to see her children. But that job covers everything. Who am I to judge? Because don't forget, everybody, and again, I've learned this as I have gotten older. While while you're out there judging people, people are out there judging you. That's a fact. That is a fact. That 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 is truth. That is total truth. We may not like it, but it's the truth. All of us are being judged by somebody, even if we don't know it. All of us, in some way, are being judged. So at what point do we tell society to go to hell? At what point do we tell society to, you know, get out of my face, walk away, keep going? I don't want to hear it. And like I said, society includes your family and your friends. It includes your coworkers. You have that one coworker who always wants to know what's going on, or they're the office gossip. They pretend to, oh, I hope you're okay. I hope whatever's going on with you, that everything's okay. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. Yeah, I'll pass. I don't think so. I'm I'm good. I'm good. But you still have those people who still have their ear to the door because they want to know what is going on. You still got Mrs. Jones across the street who's acting like Mrs. Kravitz. She's looking out her window to see everything that is going on. And like I said, you still have those laws on the books that anything but missionary is against the law in your own bedroom. Should the government or anyone else be allowed to police what is going on in your bedroom? What do you do? Now, you have people out there who, for whatever reason, um, they don't mind, they don't care if you get in their business. You have some places that are very strict. You have religious groups, areas that are very strict in certain things. But it doesn't necessarily make it right. And this is what I mean. You have some communities where they don't believe in healthcare. When I say that, I mean they don't believe in taking people to the doctor. They will say, God will fix it. And while I do believe in God, I also believe that God put people on this earth and created people to help other people. So, do I think society should interfere when parents are letting their child suffer when they truly need medical care, where a soup and a sandwich and a bandage and a cool cloth on the forehead is just not going to cut it, and they seriously need medical care? Yes, I do believe society should interfere in that family relationship, because a life is involved. And I say the same thing if you have a family where they won't take a mother or a father to the doctor for the same reason, a grandmother or grandfather for the same reason. Hello, Scott White. Welcome. I do believe society should interfere in something like that, because then, like I said, it's a health issue. A life is on the line. Do I believe society should interfere when and if that child or that family member dies because lack of medical care on the part of the family, because they refuse to take that person to the doctor, to the hospital? Do I believe society should interfere legally? Yes, I do. I don't think anyone should suffer because of someone else's, and I'm going to say this word, and I know people are going to get mad at me, because of someone else's stupidity, or in some cases, selfishness. Like I said, I believe in God, but I also believe that He put people on this earth to help. And don't get me wrong, everyone is not, healthcare, the best healthcare is not available to everyone. Some people can't, afford to go to these private clinics and these high-end doctors, and what have you. I totally get it. I totally get it. But that doesn't mean that you cannot reach out. Um, okay, I'm looking at this. I'm sorry, I should have seen this earlier. Sinful Wishes on Podbean says, I know I just got in, but jealousy can make or break a friendship. Find a friend who will be happy for you. Okay, that's true. We were talking about friendships. And thank you, Zomberry. People, excuse me, life, life is hard. You know, um, Life is hard. Every day, we're all going through some type of struggle or issue just to either get through the day. It could be something minor. It could be something major. On Friendly Differences, on last Saturday, Dread Empath and our show was about homelessness. And, 30 years ago, people would look at homeless people and call them bums. Oh, you bum, go get a job. And some people still look at homeless people as bums. But so much has changed. And I'm talking about a relationship. I'm talking about societal relationships within a family. Hey, Tracina. Um, uh, we have people who no one should suffer for the narcissistic need to control, to be right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, um, Again, anybody on Podbean, you would like to come over to YouTube, Solid Blue Sister, my turn to talk. No one, should be judged by society because their family, their relationship, their family is living on the streets, or they themselves are living on the streets, because you don't know what is going on. You really don't. When I was working as a paralegal years ago, I worked with a lot of bankruptcy attorneys. And you had a lot of people who said, oh, people who file bankruptcy, they're just trying to, get rid of their credit cards that they ran up. Did you have people like that? Absolutely. But very few. A lot of the bankruptcies and everything that I saw were medical. People went bankrupt because of medical bills. See, insurance doesn't cover everything. And once again, society, will come into your financial relationship. It will interfere with your finances. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you save for that? Why didn't you, do this? What do? You have a lot of people on the streets today who, in terms of their financial relationship, are on the streets because their job that they still go to every single day does not keep up with what the landlord is asking for rent, or companies have cut back. So again, do we have the right to interfere in that relationship? You know, again, the world is hard, and it's also very hypocritical. Um, the world is just a place where we constantly have to navigate what society thinks, feels, wants, and at some point we're all at their mercy. And one of the hardest societal relationships where interference is prevalent and we try to get away from it is family. Your family can destroy your financial relationship, your marriage relationship, your dating relationship, your job relationship. They can seriously just do a number on it. But you're supposed to be okay with it. You're supposed to be okay with the interference. And a lot of times that's not okay. It isn't. Um, but here we are. And like I said earlier, if all of us were being honest, we would all admit that at least one time, somewhere along the way, we interfered when we should have kept our mouth shut. If it wasn't something where someone was dying or being hurt mentally or physically, we should have kept our mouth shut. So, anyone, if anyone would like to call in, make a comment. 877-777-2005. 877-777-2005. Or if you would like to come up on the panel on Podbean, you're more than welcome. Podbean live streaming will be going away very soon. On May 18th, there will be no more live streaming on Podbean. But again, if you would like to call in, 877-777-2005. And you are listening to My Turn to Talk on the YouTube channel. So, and also have a couple of announcements to make. Coming soon on YouTube, we will have House of Dread with Dread Empath. That is also coming on YouTube. That will be coming, she said, hopefully the third weekend in May. Hopefully she will be starting then. So the House of Dread on YouTube. And on Saturday, coming back to you again, like every Saturday, is the Friendly Differences podcast on the YouTube channel, Friendly Differences podcast. And my co-host there is, my main co-host is Dre Empath. Kimberly Michael will be joining us again, and she is our new co-host. So she will be there on Saturday. Not sure what the topic is yet, but Friendly Differences is a little different from My Turn to Talk. Friendly Differences, we push the envelope there. So again, anybody, if you want to call in, 877-777-2005. So what else do I have to say? That is about it, guys. Just remember, everyone, be yourselves. Speak up for yourselves. Don't let anyone ruin your relationships, whether it be financial, work related, love related, family related. Sometimes people just need to take a step back, and sometimes they won't do it until you tell them to do it. Sometimes people need that nudge. Some people need the nudge of go away, be quiet. They may not like it, but having done it myself, telling people to go away, there's peace. There's peace in it. So on that note, again, thank you for everyone who popped in, and for everyone who, I know you guys come back and you listen to the replay on YouTube. Thank you very much. Again, much appreciated. Please like, subscribe, and comment. If you watch the show, your comments, I truly appreciate your comments. And if you want to reach out to me, solidbluesister@gmail.com. Oh, one other thing. I have been trying to put together a show with boomers, because I am a boomer and Gen Zs. I would love to do a show with boomer and Gen Zs. So if you know anyone who would like to come on as a Gen Zer, I will be the only boomer. So any Gen Zs who want to come after me, that's fine. But I do have some questions. I have a discussion that I would really like to have with Gen Zs. So if you are a Gen Z-er, I'd love to have you. So on that note, everyone, until next time, I hope to see you on Saturday on Friendly Differences podcast, 12 noon Pacific, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Friendly Differences podcast on YouTube. And until next time, everyone, peace.